GPS is Gigi's personal services. She's an RV expert with over 3 decades of experience. Visit thervadvisor.com today.
This is the RV Advisor Podcast with your host, Tom Alexander. Get all the latest information, trends, advice from experts, stories from the road, and more in the world of recreational vehicles. Now, here's Tom.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the RV Advisor Podcast. I'm Tom Alexander, and my guests are the Barthels, and they are from Stressless Camping. Stressless Camping, Tony and Peggy. Hi, Tony and Peggy. How are you?
Hi, Tom.
Great, Tom. How are you?
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here with you.
It's terrific to have you, and we were chatting ahead of time, and you told me that you're in Northern California, kind of north of Napa.
Yeah.
And it's a little cool today versus what you're normally perhaps accustomed to. It is, after all, wine country.
Right. It's cool to us, but for people that are in Colorado and Wisconsin, don't throw anything at us. We know this isn't really cold.
Well, if they're going to throw something at you, they'll just push me right off the cliff, because I'm in South Florida where it's 77 degrees right now where we are. But you look happy, and you look like you look stressless, as they say, as you say.
Indeed.
Stressless camping. Now, I got to get my head around that a little bit, because when you think, to me, it's like getting on a plane to some degree when I think about trying to be stressless. Up until you're actually, seated and you're having your first drink and you're chilled out and you're relaxing and you're 30,000, 35,000 feet up in the air. Up until that point, I'm stressed out. Once I get to that point, I'm like, so how do you make it so that you can have not just the experience of camping and you're toasting your marshmallows or having a drink or your whatever? How do you make building up to that, leading to that, or getting to that point stressless?
Preparation and planning. I think one of the things that we advocate a lot is checklists, and we've often said checklists make for stressless camping.
Yeah,
because
so we have a checklist for packing the camper. Excuse me. We keep a lot of things in our camper, of course, but the things that we're going to need for each trip, we make a list.
Beer.
The
Beer.
Steps to hooking up the camper, we make a list. The steps to setting up in the campground, we make a list. So although we do that over and over and over, and we pretty much know what we're doing, we still kind of take a glance at the list at the end and make sure we didn't forget anything, because losing the camper off the back of the truck while you're driving down the highway could not be stressless.
No.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I would have to agree with that.
So we have a lot of checklists for kind of every phase of getting ready to go somewhere, including, deciding where we're going to go is often a planning adventure in its own way.
Yeah, I know that, it's like almost anything that's worth doing, right? I think like planning ahead is always a good idea, and planning for those occasional hiccups as well, because they can happen,
Yeah. Oh,
Absolutely.
They do, especially, in the RV world. And sort of the impetus for the website and all of that was I worked at an RV dealership and I did sales and warranties. And I saw the same question over and over and over. And I saw the same things people were concerned about in almost every person who came through there.
Yeah.
And I thought, gosh, if they had a way to alleviate that, to make it a stressless experience. And we were on a road trip with some friends. Yep. And we're talking about it. And one of our friends goes, well, why don't you just call it stressless camping? And, the light bulb went off.
We were throwing around names and trying to come up with ideas. And she said that. And I said, oh, I like it. And then I got on my phone and bought the website.
Yeah.
Bought the domain while we're driving down the road.
Yeah.
Smart move. And you got it. You got stresslesscamping.com. And if you go there, that's sort of the hub for everything, because you've got a presence on Facebook, on YouTube, on Pinterest, it looks like, and Twitter. So, you're all over the place.
Yep.
Well, it's, all the places you want to be nowadays,
Right.
right? I mean, it's you're if you think you're going to be telling a story, there are certain places you have to tell it.
That's true. And I think I might have a couple of years on you guys, but we're sort of in the same demographic, age wise, maybe, and that's general. And we didn't grow up with that stuff.
No.
It's we had to make that adjustment, right, to sort of like getting the feel of social media. And has it been a challenge for you?
No. Here's a weird background thing for me. I started a 9-line dial-up chat board in the 80s. So people were literally like sitting on their computers dialing. It was Facebook before there was an internet. And I mean, obviously nowhere near what social media is today.
Right.
But it's the same idea. People dialing in and talking about the stuff on their minds and hooking up and all of those things.
Wow.
We have some marriages that are still in place
Huh?
Yeah, it's called Chatline.
Wow. So you were there like really at the outset. So you did sort of grow up with this then in a way.
Well, I haven't grown up yet, so there is that caveat, right?
Good move. You know what? I like the Peter Pan quality.
Absolutely.
That's a good thing. And so you really have a far-reaching presence on all these cool social media sites. And it says here, making the Great American RV Adventure a stressless camping experience. That's sort of your mantra, if you will. And photos and adventures and everything. And I see that Peggy, you've got it, you can exercise on the road. You've got stuff like that. There's all kinds of really, really cool stuff here. And we'll delve into that a little more and let folks know a little more about what you do. It's right there on Tony's t-shirt. It's stresslesscamping.com. That is, there you go. And you can visit the site and go from there and follow Tony and Peggy. We will come back in just a moment and speak more with the stresslesscamping.com duo right after these words. The RVACA is a charitable organization protecting the rights of RV owners. With your help, we'll work with dealers and manufacturers to ensure quality controls in place prior to delivery of an RV. Additionally, the RVACA provides assistance to disaster relief victims. Visit rvaca.org. We are back on the RV Advisor podcast. My guests are Tony and Peggy Barthel, and they are the Stressless Camping duo. You can get them at stresslesscamping.com. They have their own podcast. As you can see, they're outfitted with some really cool microphones. It's more high tech than what I've got here. You guys look like you're ready for prime time with that stuff.
I'm a nerd of epic proportions.
That's terrific. No, I think we can share that. I was having a conversation with a guest on another show, and we're talking about how back in the day when, we lived in sort of a somewhat rural area, and I was trying to get stations from other parts of the, region, which didn't come in very well. And you're up there with your like aluminum foil and clothes hangers out the window, and you're trying to bring in stations, and somehow you're able to do that. So I was kind of part of that nerd. I was in the club, but I almost with certain things I have to defer to my son now, because he's it's like it's kind of passed me by some of this technology. Anyway, I know that you've got plans for 2021. I know that this past year has been a challenge for all of us.
Right.
And glad to see that you two have powered through and are healthy and ready to go for some adventures, stressless adventures.
Absolutely.
So we were talking in the break and you'd mentioned Route 66, which has always fascinated me. It's quite famous. There's even a song, Get Your Kicks on Route 66. So
I think I've heard it.
yeah, I'm sure you have. Very famous. So what's the plan for Route 66?
So we're in Northern California, and we want to do, every inch. So we're going to go straight down the coast first and end up in the Los Angeles area and start in Santa Monica. That's the official end of the route.
Yeah, right at the pier there.
Right at the pier.
Oh, it ends right at the pier.
It ends right at Santa Monica Pier, which is right near where assuming I grew up, that's where it happened.
That's
where he spent his high school years.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. All right.
And so we'll start in Santa Monica, and I've been using RV Trip Wizard, and I've been planning, I put Santa Monica as my starting point and Chicago as my ending point. Yeah. And then I don't want just the fastest route. I don't want only the new interstate. If there's a section of Route 66 old highway that's still open, I want to use it. Yeah. So I've been using, other maps, and the National Park Service actually has route of Route 66 to help you know where exactly to go. So I've been just playing around with, without traveling too quickly and being able to make all those stops. I looked at the lyrics of the song to make sure we stop in all those towns that are in the song.
I'm trying to remember some of those spots. Is Albuquerque one? There's a couple.
St. Louis is one.
The song actually runs kind of backwards from our route because it starts.
Because it's starting in Chicago and going
California.
Yeah. So you got if you play the record backwards,
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, then I get my dog back, my wife back. Oh wait, that's a country song.
That's a country song, right?
There you
exactly.
Go. Forgot about that.
That's right.
And our traveling style is to find the local Americana, mom and pop, red routes, as it were, where it's not the main highways, but the kind of stuff that what was his name, Lightning McQueen found in Cars.
Right.
That's our style.
Wow.
And,
we're looking for Mater.
When there's something that is equivalent to the biggest ball of twine in Minnesota, we're gonna stop and see it. We're gonna stop and see the iconic things we hear about. All of the Muffler Men, and so there's a lot of stops that we want to make.
Yeah.
And so we're just again, this is taking a lot of planning because we want to make sure we do it right, and don't get all the way to Chicago and then go, oh shoot, there was that place in Arizona we forgot.
Right. Well, and we're not going back down Route 66. Right. We're going more across the top.
Across the north end, and my mom is in Colorado, so we'll stop and visit her and some friends in Idaho. So we're going to make kind of a big loop.
Yeah.
What have you heard? First of all, that's just absolutely fascinating. And I'll tell you, I'd love to, if you throw, strap me up to the roof and I'll come along. What have you heard about the condition of the road itself? Have you heard anything good or bad or indifferent to the condition of the road? I'm sure it varies depending on the state.
Yeah. There are definitely sections of old Route 66 that aren't drivable anymore, and they're right next to a brand new, relatively brand new highway.
Mm-hmm.
So there will be parts that were not actually on the old road.
Yeah.
And that you just can't. You
get to a certain point. I guess they detour you off, and you go pick up the new highway or whatever it is.
Right.
And we had a chance to interview a lady who makes it her goal to photograph historic buildings and roadside stuff like the Muffler Men and all of that.
Right.
And she was lamenting that a lot of the older stuff is just going away, and people are tearing it down and modernizing and such. Mm-hmm. And that's part of this trip, is I want to see as much of it as I can before I can't.
Yeah, well, it still exists.
I dig all that old nostalgia and mom and pop and roadside attractions, and just all of that stuff just really floats my boat, or actually pulls my camper, I guess.
Pulls your camper. I like that. That's good. Well, I've gotten some questions in the past about some of the items in my home studio here, and there's an usher's jacket behind me over my shoulder. You can see that. That's from my dad's movie theater that I grew up in.
Cool.
And
Oh,
I've got the old Coke clock there as well from the early or mid 50s.
I was noticing.
Also that was in the theater, and there's even marquee letters over here that says the word "in." So in other words, if you actually on a marquee, it would say John Wayne in True Grit or something like that, So I got a bunch of these old photos and different kinds of memorabilia. So I share your passion for things old, and I think it's in Arizona on Route 66. There's a kind of a pretty famous diner. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head right now, but I know it's like a go-to for a lot of travelers that hit Route 66.
Yeah.
And it's a must stop apparently.
Right.
So I'm sure you'll be hitting some of those little quirky out of the way places along the way and share photos and video and what have you with your followers.
That's the whole idea. And we had intended boy, my new mouth is not working out. Intended to do this 5 years ago. We owned a resort for 7 years, and then we sold it 5 years ago, and we had a 1964 Chevy Corvair camper that we had
Chevy Corvair camper.
Yeah. So Chevy made, everyone's familiar with the sedans, but they made vans and pickups too for 3 years.
Yeah.
And we had a van that the original owner had put a camper kit in.
Right.
And so our goal was actually to drive that down Route 66. But when I went through this stoplight with no brakes, that kind of made me a little hesitant.
It was a little bit
that'll
to even drive through town, let alone the whole country.
Yeah, that'll put a crimp in your day, I think.
Yeah.
A Corvair. Now I know obviously the Corvair is very, very famous for having been recalled. The car, Ralph Nader, all that stuff way back when. And boy, we're aging ourselves here. But anyway, some of the viewers and listeners will know what we're talking about. I suspect more than we would imagine. But did the whole Corvair line, you mentioned the camper, was that also part of that whole, if that was all part of that kind of recall thing?
No, what was the recall was a handling issue, and basically GM cheaped out and didn't put sway bars in the suspension, telling people to inflate the front tires really low pressure and the back tires high. And in those days, you'd go to a gas station and the guy there would fill up all your tires and fill them up all the same, and then the cars wouldn't handle well. That wasn't true of the vans because they were much heavier, especially in the front. And so they didn't have, they're still vans, so they handled terribly, right? A lot of 60s cars handling was horrible.
Yeah.
They were not exceptional in that.
Right.
So not particularly. And if you maintain the Corvair properly, it's actually not a bad handling car. I have friends who still autocross, which is crazy, but
wow.
I've seen friends autocross Corvair vans, which is something to see, and the stupidest thing. But whatever floats your boat.
Yeah,
pulls your trailer.
Pulls your trailer. Well, this has been Motoring with Tony Barthel.
Right. That's his whole other. It's another whole nerd side up.
It's a spinoff. CBS 10:30 Monday nights.
Right. There you go.
But it's interesting. I love the whole concept of Route 66 again always has intrigued me, and I'd love to do that someday. Like you said, before it's not there.
Yeah, before it's not there.
Yeah, and I know that do you have a ballpark total on how many followers, subscribers, everything that you've got now? I'm sure it's quite a few.
It is. It's in the tens. I just looked at it too. You'd think I'd remember this.
You'd remember.
But I know this year, all of a sudden, the website has just exploded
Yeah.
in hits.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, well, we don't need it. We don't need
Yeah.
the exact math on it, but I'm just, figured that, given your wide ranging social media presence, and of course your site, and the fact that you guys do your own podcast as well, that those numbers are going to do nothing but grow. And I think it's absolutely terrific. Stresslesscamping.com is the name of the website. It is Tony, it is Peggy Barthel, and they are from stresslesscamping.com. And you can follow them there. Folks, a lot of fun. We need to do this again. We need to.
That would be
I'd love
terrific.
to.
We'd love to.
It would be a lot of fun. You guys are a lot of fun and some great stories. This, maybe we should do a series. This is pretty cool stuff. Again, it is stresslesscamping.com. That's the place to find them and follow them and learn more about their adventures. This is the RV Advisor Podcast. Back in a moment.
Hey, RV owners and those thinking about owning. Want to maximize the fun and minimize the hassle of buying an RV? You need GPS. It's Gigi's personal service. Our $350 package gets you me, the expert advice, and a host of outstanding services. Visit thervadvisor.com.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the RV Advisor Podcast. I'm Tom Alexander. I am, as always, joined by our guest coordinator and a great friend of the show. Obviously, it is Neve Carizacco. Hey, Neve.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. We get to close the show with these little segments each week, each Monday and on Friday, and we like to pass on, some tidbits of news. And I know that you and I had been talking about some of the RV shows coming up. Now we know that due to COVID, there's been a lot of, some changes in plans and stuff. Some stuff got postponed. Others just got outright canceled. But others are powering through, and they're going on, and folks are going there and they're taking the precautions, doing all the smart things, and attending these RV shows. And I know that there's two of them coming up. In fact, one's this weekend, right?
One is this weekend. Yeah, we have Springfield RV Camping Show this weekend from the 19th to the 21st. That is going to be at BOS Center in Springfield, Illinois. So super exciting. So anyone that's in that area or can commute within a reasonable amount of time, highly suggest checking it out. It'll be awesome.
Yeah, that's terrific. Yeah. And then another one coming up in April, right?
Another one, April 10th and 11th. It is, I have it written down here in case I forgot the name, Vacation Land RV and Camping Show. And that one is at the Norway Savings Bank Arena, which is in Auburn, Maine. So yeah, two different areas. So hopefully some of our listeners from both of those places can go check it out and see what's going on.
Yeah, so up in the northeast corner of the country, and for the main show, and then of course this weekend in right smack dab in the middle of I guess the Midwest, you could say, in the Midwest in Indiana. It's in Indiana, or no, Illinois, Springfield, Illinois, right.
Illinois, yeah.
Terrific.
So yeah, it'll be really fun. It'll be nice for everyone to see, and it's nice to see some of the shows are getting back to normal within a in a safe environment.
Yeah, we're hoping that we're going to be able to get to some shows this year,
for sure.
And not just here in Florida, but maybe a couple other spots. And we've got our sights set on some of those shows a little later in the year, and we'd love to go and make that happen and report from there. It'd be very, very cool, a lot of fun. Well, that's good news. And of course, we always let folks know where they can contact you specifically if they want to get on the show, right?
Yes, contact me via any of our social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or contact me directly via ncarey@the rvadvisor.com. So yeah, any of those routes will get you to me.
Terrific. There you go. Thanks, Neve. As always, great job. Without Neve, this show does not go on because she gets us all our guests on this show and coordinates with everybody. So she's the point person. You'll be talking to her if you want to come on the podcast. For Neve Carey-Zacco, I'm Tom Alexander. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching the RV Advisor podcast. We'll see you on Monday. So long, everybody.